μοιάζεις με φωτιά, κοκκίνα μαλλιά και χείλια, κι ό,τι σε τρομάζει μίλα, σπάστο σαν γυαλί. Αχ, πες το μου στα αυτή, κάντο προσευχή να αντέξει, να χτυπάει στις φλέβες μου μέχρι το πρωί, μέχρι το πρωί.
Croatia has had both the good and the bad luck of being at the very crossroads of Europe. The bad luck is that many countries have coveted its land. In the course of history, Greece, Rome, Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, Venice, France, and Austria have all left their footprints there. The good luck is that it is blessed with a magnificent landscape. Tourists can visit this exquisite nation to swim in the Adriatic, to sun on the beaches of its 3,901-mile coastline, relax on its 78 islands, tour its towns and cities, and discover the statues, buildings, and monuments left in the wake of its long and diverse history. Dubrovnik is Croatia's crown jewel. The old quarter is a feast for the eyes. The city is called the Pearl of the Adriatic because it is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It was composed of 2 islands separated by a canal. When you enter the city walls, you step back into history. For this reason, Game of Thrones was filmed here. Dubrovnik was always subject to invasions. Consequently, the inhabitants built a great fort as well as a huge city wall, both of which hover over the city today. Fortress Lovrijenac, built on a rock 37 meters above the Adriatic, dates from the 11th century. The city walls fortifying Dubrovnik from pirates and other invaders stand as straight and protective as they did in the 12th century. Their usefulness and strength have continued into 1991, when Dubrovnik fought for independence against the Yugoslav People's Army. With its 16 towers and a length of 1.2 miles, the walls completely surround the old city. At their highest, they are 25 meters and between 3 and 6 meters thick. A walk along the walls of Dubrovnik is the experience of a lifetime. At one point, you can feast upon the view of thousands of red terracotta roofs and the medieval buildings which they protect. At another point, the spires of the great cathedrals reach up into the horizon. And still further on, the clear turquoise waves of the Adriatic roll up and break against the high walls. Split is a second remarkable city in Croatia. The whole town was once the dominion of only one man, whose name is known by many people today, although he died eons ago in 312 AD. Diocletian is best known for persecuting Christians, but he was a remarkably good emperor in other ways, instituting reforms that helped stabilize Rome. Unlike emperors who preceded him, he abdicated his post voluntarily and built this palace in which to live out his golden years. In 1995, the Diocletian Palace celebrated its 1700th anniversary. Diocletian's huge edifice, 400,000 square feet, with walls 7 feet thick and 72 feet above the Adriatic, looks more like an army barracks than an emperor's retirement home. It is huge and takes up half the old town of Split. It was built at the end of the 4th century, both for personal use and for the housing of garrisons. It fell into disuse after Diocletian's death. But when Split was attacked in the 7th century by the newly aggressive Arabs, local people sought refuge behind its thick walls. It is used today for shops, cafes, and apartments. Over 3,000 people inhabit this old fort. In 1979, it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. One ironic aspect of this palace is that Diocletian, who executed so many Christians, is not buried in his own tomb. Rather, the bones of Saint Domnius, the Christian protector of Split, executed by Diocletian in the 4th century, lie there, and Diocletian's bones are somewhere at the bottom of the nearby Adriatic. Tourists may be surprised when they encounter a statue on a peristyle that seems out of place in the palace. A 2,500-year-old sphinx, originally at the site of the tomb of Egypt's Thutmose III. Actually, Diocletian loved sphinxes and imported many to display in his palace. Now only 3 survive. One is entirely intact, while the 2 others are headless. For those travelers wanting to improve their fortunes, a stop in front of the northern gate of the Diocletian Palace to see the huge statue of Bishop Gregory of Nin is a must. This hero was an enemy of the Pope and the High Church hierarchy. In 926, in opposition to the Church, he introduced the Croatian language to replace Latin. The Croatian people appreciated his efforts so much that they built this huge statue to commemorate him in 1926. They say that rubbing his big toe, which is shiny from all the affection it has received over time, will bring good luck. If this is true, millions of people have had a lot of good luck. To understand the ambience of Zagreb, the largest city and the capital of Croatia, you need to see and experience the Stone Gate. Between 1202 and 1266, Zagreb built city walls that extended around its perimeter. It is known that they were made of stone, although wood was the main building material of the city at the time. In 1731, the wooden city caught fire, and even the stone walls and the gates of the city were badly damaged. One painting survived the fire whole and undamaged, a painting of Mary and Child. The people considered this survival to be a miracle. They constructed an altar and a chapel in one of the city gates for this painting, which is on display there even today. Every day, people of every walk of life stop by to light candles and to pray at Mary's altar, feeling that by doing so, many of their fondest wishes will be granted by the Holy Virgin. Walking through the small chapel is a sublime experience. Many candles flicker as worshippers light others, their faces glowing in the reflection of the flames, pious and peaceful. Many more are staring at the picture of the Virgin, moved by her spirituality. The inhabitants of Zagreb take their religion seriously. Near the Stone Gate is another significant landmark, St. Mark's Church. This church is significant because it was first built in the 13th century, but it was destroyed time after time by fires and earthquakes, and each time rebuilt. This is an exquisite building. What makes it outstanding is its graphically tiled roof. On it, depicted in multicolored tiles, are two different coats of arms. On the right side is the emblem of Zagreb, and on the left is a mix of three different symbols: the checkerboard of Croatia, the three lions of Dalmatia, and the black kuna of Slovenia. The church is on the upper town, quite near what must be the smallest funicular in the world, one that gives you a 30-second ride from the lower town to the upper town, or vice versa. It is just 66 meters long. If you prefer, you can use the adjacent staircase. If you arrive at the upper town at the right time, 12 noon, you can walk over to the Lotrasak Tower and hear the roar of the cannon that fires from the top of the tower each day. You can also walk up the tower and get an awesome view of Zagreb. But if you are not inclined to do so, you can just walk a few feet to a viewing point nearby that also offers a fine view of the city. The best of Zagreb for many tourists and residents is not necessarily the number of its historic sites, but the ambience of its many cafes, coffee shops, and restaurants on its walking street. Kalsiseva Street is lined with bars and restaurants, which in turn are jammed with people. There is a perpetual party going on there, a never-ending Mardi Gras. You simply can't leave Zagreb without eating in one of these wonderful restaurants. Croatia has more than 1,000 islands. Known for its wonderful beaches and festive atmosphere, the island of Hvar can be reached from Dubrovnik by ferry in 3 hours. There are 2 castle fortresses on this island. The upper one, a Napoleonic fortress, was built by the French in 1812, after they suffered a number of defeats by the Russian army during the Napoleonic Wars. Walking up to this castle takes a lot of energy, but the views of the port below, cuddling the Adriatic, are just spectacular. The view from the castle is majestic. From it, you can see 16 islands in Hvar Bay, as well as the whole town of Hvar. It is evident why this castle was built. The defenders could see the invaders from far off, and that would give them a massive strategic advantage. The Stargrad Plain in Hvar is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This site has not changed its appearance since the 4th century BC during the Greek occupation. The same ancient stone walls and shelters are spread across the landscape. Grape and olive fields are systematically grown in the same geometrical pattern of land division employed by the ancient people over 2,400 years ago. By legend, Korčula Island was the birthplace of Marco Polo, although many historians say he was born in Venice in 1254. When he was 17, he traveled to Asia with his father and uncle and remained there a total of 17 years. He wrote a book called The Travels of Marco Polo, that detailed Asian culture. He brought many Asian products back to Europe, including animals, plants, paper money, and best of all, ice cream. Because people in Korčula claim him, they built a Marco Polo museum to commemorate him. In the heart of the town is a huge map that traces his travels from Europe to Asia. Like Dubrovnik, Korčula is surrounded by walls dating to the 13th century. The streets within the old town are not perpendicular to one another, but meet at angles. In this way, the alleys are protected from direct sunlight in the summer, and the harsh winds of winter cannot easily penetrate the maze of winding alleys. Korčula, like other island towns, is a labyrinth of streets and 15th century stone buildings, many of which date to the Renaissance. Quite different from Korčula is Makarska. The town has a more modern appearance than most other towns on the Dalmatian coast. Due to its constant battles with regional powers, Makarska's oldest buildings date only to the 16th century, and most of those have been destroyed. But what makes Makarska distinctive are the breathtaking Karst Mountains looming right behind the town and falling almost into the Adriatic. They are made of limestone, punctuated by caves, cliffs, crevices, gashes, and ruptures. Biokovo is the largest and highest mountain in Dalmatia, 1,762 meters high. In its karst elegance, devoid of trees and human habitation, it is one of the most beautiful mountains as well. The residents of Makarska get to wake up in its shadow and fall asleep blanketed in its silhouette. On the mountain is a nature park of approximately 48,000 acres, in which live many endemic species of animals and plants. For the energetic, there are walking paths up the mountain. There is also a very difficult, windy, scary road for those brave enough to drive up. On an overhanging cliff at 1,228 meters is a skywalk of steel and glass that juts out 12 meters from the cliff into the open air. Its floor is made entirely of glass, so looking down as you walk around its semicircle makes you feel as if you are suspended in air. Standing on this platform is not for the faint-hearted or those afraid of heights, but it is an undeniably extraordinary experience. On sunny days, it seems like the whole world is visible to you. Many of the Dalmatian islands, Monte Gargano in Italy, 100 miles away, and the mountains of Bosnia and Herzegovina, about 75 miles away, can be seen. You can also look directly down past the cliff and ruts and steep walls into the town of Makarska. It feels like you just climbed to the top of Mount Everest. One of the main squares in Zadar is called Forum because it dates back to the time of the Romans. In the distant past, this square was surrounded on 3 sides by a portico and on the 4th by a Roman temple. But these buildings were destroyed by an earthquake in the 6th century. All that remain are a set of stairs and 2 columns. One of these columns stands at its original place in the Forum. In the old days, criminals were dragged to this column where they were punished for their ill deeds. The column is called the Pillar of Shame, and chains still hang from its side. The second column was relocated in Five Wells Square. Five Wells Square got its name from a cistern for drinking water on top of which are 5 different wellheads. Venetians built this structure in 1574 to help the local inhabitants fortify themselves against the siege by the Ottoman Empire. Surrounding this square is a Venetian defensive wall designed to prevent the Ottomans from attacking the city. Zadar is surrounded by walls whose origins date back to the 14th century. When the Venetians conquered Zadar, they refortified the existing walls making them all but impregnable. In World War II, the city was bombed repeatedly. Many buildings were destroyed, but these walls stood in place. Today, they are part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. One entirely unique feature of Zadar is found on the seaside promenade. Here on the walkway is a sea organ which plays music night and day. It almost sounds like spooning whales. The perforated marble stairs of the walkway contain small holes that let flow the sounds of the 35 pipes beneath. The seawater penetrates these to make the soothing sounds that mix with the lull of the waves. Beyond the sea organ is a circular set of 300 solar panels called Monument to the Sun. These capture the sunlight during the day and perform a light show at night to the rhythm of the sea organ. Locals and tourists come here every night to see this remarkable show. This seaside walkway is also a place to enjoy what many people think is one of the best sunsets in the world. Alfred Hitchcock in 1964, who had seen his share of sunsets in his life, said, "Zadar has the most beautiful sunset in the world." Croatia is a place of great natural beauty and very hospitable people. It is a joy to visit. The food is excellent, the scenery is spectacular, and the sea is warm and inviting. Who could go wrong by visiting this lovely country?
Με φωτιά, κοκκίνα μαλλιά και χείλια, κι ό,τι σε τρομάζει μίλα, σπάς το σαν γυαλί. Αχ, πες το μου στα αυτή, κάν το προσευχή να αντέξει, να χτυπάει στις φλέβες μου μέχρι το πρωί. Κόψε το όνειρό σου, κόψε το στα δυο, δώσε μου και εμένα, για να ξεδίψω στα χείλη σου. Αχ, μοιάζεις με φωτιά, κοκκίνα μαλλιά και χείλια, κι ό,τι σε τρομάζει μίλα, σπάς το σαν γυαλί. Πες μου μόνο πώς θα αντέξει το γυμνό κορμί, το γυμνό κορμί.